morning, everyone. I'm Sherry. I'm on the EIC committee. If you're not supposed to be in the Insider's Guide to EIC entries, we'll help you find your way. Let's see a show of hands. How many people have already entered at least one entry before? So about half and half, and the other half, I'm assuming, hasn't done it at all, and you're interested in the process. That's great. Welcome. I am going to introduce our panelists. We have Stephen Kearns from James Craft & Son over there. He's been on the committee since 2009, and he has helped their company earn 5 Excellence Awards and 3 Merit Awards. So everybody on our panel is an expert in some way. Kristen Troxel from Benchmark has been on the committee for 2.5 years, and they have 10 excellence and 8 merits. And then we have Dan Fichtner, our esteemed judge. He's been with EIC at least, he was trying to figure this out yesterday when I asked him, 24 years. So he's kind of like that guy in that insurance commercial. I don't remember which insurance company it is, but he stands there, he's really funny, and he says, "Been there, covered that." That's Dan. I don't think you could probably come up with a question that he wouldn't be able to answer and say, well, back a couple years ago, we addressed that situation. So these are our experts, and we are going to start with Dan covering the judging process, and then Kristen and Stephen are going to come up together and cover how to do a winning entry, and then after that we'll have Q&A. So, welcome.
Good morning. Sherry was going to introduce me as being older than dirt, but she didn't. The EIC program was started long ago. There used to be a suppliers and subcontractors committee that started the program as a benefit to contractors, and so sometime early to mid 90s. But the judging process, what's involved? First of all, am I going to? If I lay on this, I won't push buttons. There's the laptop here. EIC. Are you going to click ahead? There we go. We need everybody to know it's not a competition between contractors. We're not looking at the contractor A be better than contractor B. We are looking at judging how a contractor performed on what we expect from a contractor on a given job against a set of standards, points. It's not a program between contractors. And does the project matter? We hear from a lot of people, well, I don't have a project that I should enter this year. Well, the simplest project done well is worthy of an excellence award. If you did everything right that you can do as a contractor, it should be worthy of an excellence award. We specifically tell our judges work in pairs. We get industry professionals in the nature of the work. We'll get MEPs for specialty contractors such as MEP, architects, engineers for others, civil engineers for site projects. We try to get industry professionals, so they work in pairs so that there is some discussion and it's not as arbitrary. We try to make sure that they're judging against the standard. We give them guidelines for those standards. But as a contractor, you don't get to choose what work you do every year. You can say no to some work, but you can't guarantee you're going to get every job you want. So we tell our judges to look past the project budget and the project design. That has nothing to do with how well you perform. That's one of the reasons we have so many categories, to try to judge apples to apples versus apples to oranges. A complicated hospital project is going to be much more difficult to accomplish than just a plain metal building warehouse. And so we have different categories so that we can kind of be looking at a standard for that type of work and judge how well you did. So what happens with the EIC entry once it arrives? When it comes, Jolene and I look at it and try to make sure, yes, it's in the right category. It is from dollar value and type of construction entered into the right category. We solicit volunteer judges. This year is the first year that the program has been moved back in the calendar year, so we have not yet solicited judges. We'll be doing that. The judges have a breakfast at which, by that time, we've divided all the projects into the proper categories and assigned judges to them. And at that breakfast, they stay for a couple hours and do the judging, or if it doesn't suit, they get together at another time to do it. Site visits. We used to go visit every job, and as you can imagine, ABC Keystone contractors work from Shippensburg to Media up to State College and back. I mean, the amount of driving that we had to do and take time off, it was just eating up judges. We couldn't get judges. And we've been trying over the years to try to comply with the ABC National, so that if you win an excellence in Keystone, you can submit in National. And National does it just by the submittals without site visits. But we do encourage our judges, if they can't tell everything they want to know about a project, to go ahead, if the two of them would like to go ahead and schedule a site visit. So our scores are submitted to a volunteer accounting firm, and just like the Oscars or the Emmys or whatever, somebody does the tallying. The judges really have nothing to do with that. So over the years, we've tried to make it comply with National, and we've tried to make it comply with what does it take for a contractor to do a good job. So the projects are judged in 5 categories, totaling 100 points: contracted scope, narrative, safety, what references did you get, photographs, ABC accredited contractor, that's like extra credit on your test, ABC training, extra credit on your test. So the contracted scope, that's what we review to say, are you in the right category? What was the size of the project? What was the scope of work performed? What was the type of facility? What was your contract type? Was it just a bid job? Were you a CM at risk? Was it design build? So the contract type and the duration, it needs to be entered, finished, completed, occupied in the year that we're submitting it. How long did it take you? What was the duration? And how was the percentage of work self-performed? That helps us as judges, and that should be rather short, less than a page. Do we specify how many words, Jolene? I think we do a suggested limit, but it's just what was this project all about? The narrative, that's where, since there's not site visits, and that's where you need to get creative and tell us why this is an excellent job. I worked with an electrical engineer at the start of every design meeting. He'd say, good, fast, and cheap, pick 2, which is, well, when you're a contractor, everything needs to be good, it needs to be fast, and it needs to be cheap, all 3. So, in this narrative, that's what you're going to tell us about. What hardships did you overcome? Did the contract not get let until the weather was just terrible the whole year, and we had excessive rains or excessive snows, and you still, what did you do to keep schedule? How did you do on the schedule? Did you exceed it? Didn't you exceed it? Did you have to work extra hours? Did you bring in extra help for a subcontractor who wasn't performing? Or as a subcontractor, specialty contractor, what did you do to overcome the problems? This is where, for 40 points, go wild, go crazy with it. Tell us what all you did well as a contractor. Again, it's not the nature of the project, it's not the budget. How well did you do with what was put before you? When you signed a contract, you had a budget, you had a schedule, and you had quality you had to perform. What did your people do to make all those 3 things happen? And then if you did anything to make the project better, value engineering. Hey, Mr. Architect, Mr. Owner, here's something we could do that would enhance your project, save time, save money. Would you consider it? If you did any value engineering, particularly for specialty contractors, this is where you let us know why you did an excellent job, an above average job. Safety. Safety is important to your people. It's important to your clients. It's important to all of us. We want everybody to come to work in the morning and go home in the afternoon. So there is a safety. We want to know that you have a written policy, that you have a project manual, that you have toolbox meetings, that you are making a priority out of safety on the job site. And we do award some extra points if you are in the STEP program, because that tells us you already met those requirements and are participating. I do know there have been years where, because of safety, it's been a merit instead of excellence, because the company just did not intentionally emphasize the safety program with their people. So it was the difference in points between an excellence and a merit award. References. We want 2 letters of references. Doesn't do any good for you to say, hey, I did a good job. You know, we want somebody else to say you did a good job. Our preference for GCs would be a letter from the owner and from the designer. The owner who says, yeah, they did what I wanted, and the designer who said, yeah, they did what I wanted. Sometimes you're going to submit a design build job. Sometimes there is no designer. Sometimes it's a building for yourself. A spec building for yourself you're going to lease out, so there isn't an owner, it's you. We can't accept you saying, hey, I did a good job for myself. So instead of an owner and a designer, maybe one of your major subcontractors, major suppliers. You can find, we would like 2 letters. If you can't, we'll adjust the points based on the 1 letter that you do have by a percentage, but if you can't get an owner, and I'm sorry, but because of liability, it's a very real problem. Owners refuse to say, put in writing, you did a good job. Everybody's going to come back and bite them sometime. There are, particularly major corporations, if you're doing work for major corporations, you may not get a letter. If you can, a second letter from a major supplier would be helpful. Photographs. The purpose of photographs is to help us know what you did. It's most helpful if you provide progress photos. We are not looking for photos and judging them by the excellence of the photos. If it's your guys in the field who took the pictures, you don't need a professional photographer. But we need to know what you did. What does it look like? It's the only way for us to judge workmanship is to look at what did the ephes look like? What did the masonry look like? What did the millwork look like? What did you put in place? We need photographs. And again, you don't have to pay big bucks for a photographer, but we want those photos to show the complexity, the uniqueness, the quality of the work. It's really helpful to show project progress. And you might be detecting a theme here, which Stephen and Kristen will speak to. It's hard to gather everything you need if, after the job's all done, you say, oh, you ought to submit that. It's really most helpful if you know throughout the work, let's get photographs, let's gather our safety information, and so on. So, don't want to steal what they're going to talk about, but
cross off the line there.
project progress really helps us. Like if you said, I can think of one job where the contractor, instead of erecting steel trusses, piece at a time, ganged them together and set them up and saved a couple days of erection time because put them together on the ground and set them up in groups. Having a picture to see what that looked like and where it saved money really helps us to say, yeah, they get points for that. That was good thinking. As a contractor who's making things happen. So show photos of the work performed. Again, not professional. You need not pay big dollars, but it has to show us what's going on. Then for your extra credit, are you an ABC accredited quality contractor? It's an optional 2 points because to comply with that, you're already complying with a lot of the things that we're looking for a contractor to perform with excellence. And ABC training. We all know workforce development is going to be a huge issue. We would like to know that you are using ABC program for your people, that you're promoting ABC to your employees, and that they're being trained using ABC training options. So the last item for me is project of the year. We have kept this as objective a judging process as we can. Here's a standard, have the contractor comply with that, look at this project and award points based on points per category. As objective as we can. But over time, it was decided that, you know, ABC contractors do a lot of great work. We affect the community in a good way. You look at the buildings around, there deserves some recognition for it. So we ought to call out for a project of the year. For example, and where it came up, the Flight 93 out in western Pennsylvania, that memorial was done by a Keystone contractor. And it was like, you know, we ought to highlight things like that. So how do we go about it? So we just started to take the excellent award that had the highest points and award it the project of the year. And quite frankly, it was disappointing. We've had, for a couple of years in a row, we've had one contractor who won by half a year say, how did we get it? Why didn't they? For an amazing project. And the other contractor, what? We didn't get it. So, we're now, last year was the first, we take our objective scores, we take all the excellence, and we invite a different set of judges, 3 non-industry professionals. Somebody from media, Steve Swarney, who was AIA president, and an administrator from a local trade college. We take the excellence awards and we ask them to judge on a different set of criteria and subjective. What was the client satisfaction? What was the community impact? What were the design features? And did this project receive positive notoriety or high profile status? So that we can say to the public, not just in-house, you performed well, you performed well, which you should be using as you submit these. Your clients love to know, they love to know that your work for them was a project of excellence. But project of the year, so we can say in the media, look what ABC contractors do. So we turn around and take the objective, make it subjective. And we're hoping that's a little more satisfactory than who won by half a point. We'll have a question and answer session. Should I just wait till after the other two are done? Because some of your questions they may be able to answer. So thank you.
Yeah. All right. So submitting for an award, I'm not going to say it's an easy process, but once you've done it once or twice, not that bad, okay? So, let's move on. Easy, okay? First thing you're going to want to do is you need to look at the entry rules, okay? What projects meet the submission criteria as far as safety standards? Location of the project is always a big question. My project was done outside of the ABC Keystone area. Can I submit on that? Well, yeah. If you're not a member of, say, Eastern PA, ABC, and you did a project out near Philly, well, guess what? You can submit in Keystone, okay? So really wherever you're a member at is where you can submit. All right, and I guess the big one is getting that intent to submit here by the end of the month. It's a new process. It used to be, you know, you put all your entries together, I have everything done, now here's my entry form, here's my intent to submit at the same time. Since we're moving to a new process that we'll talk about later, kind of like to know what's coming right now, and it helps you get your head wrapped around what you're going to do and kind of focus your projects. So that's kind of an idea.
So in your packet that you have on your table, I provide you guys with a checklist to kind of help you get prepared throughout the year, to start thinking about what projects you want to submit. And don't try to think like, oh man, the submission's coming up in May. Start thinking about it at the beginning of May. Start thinking about it throughout the year. As you see projects starting, you know the idea behind the project, you know, kind of keep it in mind as, okay, need to create a folder for this and start following all these stuff and start gathering that as you go throughout the year, so it's not all at the last minute.
See, it's easy. All right, so preparing your submission. Once you have your project selected, get a folder for it. I don't care if it's something on your computer, if it's a physical file folder, get something and start putting your things together, okay? You know, we have a nice little checklist here for you. Another good tool is your entry form, right? Your entry form has those 5 or 6 main areas where you're getting points. Well, as you get something, you can just cross it off on there. All right, that's typically what I use. It saves you the work of creating something. It makes it pretty easy, I think. Follow the order of the entry form, right? If you can cross them off in order, it makes it pretty easy. I know some things are easier than others. Safety, that kind of stuff, you can put together pretty quickly. The narrative, probably taking the most time. But a lot of the stuff you already have, you just have to find where it is in the house. And as I said, as you get things, put them in that folder, put them in order so you know where they are. And then once everything's done, you're going to want to put everything into a single PDF, okay, for a submission. How you do that, you probably have a copy of Adobe sitting around. The standard or professional are good options for it. You know, we're in construction, so Bluebeam, another good option, and there are more options out there to compile things into a single PDF. So something like that is going to make it really easy for you. Not all that expensive to have, and once you have it, you have it. So.
Regarding the categories, obviously you have your entire list inside of the entry form packet that you received on your table, as well as through the link on the website. And just remember, if you're a general contractor and you did woodworking, you could still submit that as a separate project. So you don't have to just make that all one project, as the, one project, but you can submit it separately as like woodworking. And if you do have a question about, man, I don't know, this is a senior living project, but we did dining, what category does that go into? Feel free to reach out to Julina and she will, walk you through, okay, well, it seems like it could fit into this category, and then you have to go there. Don't be afraid to ask any questions. That's what we're here to, help you with. So the entry form requirements, so scheduling meeting with project teams. So I'm a general contractor and we typically submit, between 6 and 10 projects every year. It's kind of hard for me to stay on top of everything that was involved in this one project. So I'll sit down with the project team, project manager, superintendent, if there's assistant project manager, and give them either a list of questions, which I kind of provided you with in that packet, or sit there and interview them, kind of get their juices flowing, kind of get their ideas of what made this project so special. Typically what I've been doing recently, just because of how many projects we have, I've been giving them the questions, setting them off on their own, to give them time to think about it, to pull any pictures up that they've done in the past to kind of help them shape their narrative around that.
All right, preparing your contracted scope. I think this is one of the easiest pieces. for us at least, and this comes down to one thing. Chatting with my estimator and taking our scope letter, right? What did we send the GC day we sent that bid out? Because that gives you a pretty good idea of what that contractor scope is. They have a good idea of what the time frame and what constraints they're working with. And that is a key. You need to put the things in there, type of construction, size of project, what was your final value, you might have to talk to accounting on that one. And the percentage labor to self-perform, especially if you're a subcontractor, where you're doing 99% of it or whatnot. But everything comes back to going, talking with your estimator and getting that scope of work that they originally proposed. And if you have some large change orders, maybe that change that scope of work, but you have to have those conversations. Right. Then the narrative, that is the big bad piece of this, 40 points, right? It's not that bad. Secret, right? I'm not telling everybody that, all right? How do you do this? Talk with your project team. 5 to 10 minutes. Project manager, one-on-one. Your site superintendent, have a one-on-one with them. Any key foreman, have a chat with them. And like I said, go back to your estimators, have a talk with them. Those guys are the ones that know the project, all right? If you have a question, they can answer it for you, all right? It's pretty simple. Take notes on it. We have a question sheet in here. Take a look at it. It'll help you iron out what you really need to know from them and roll with it. You need the challenges, obstacles, what you did that made that project special. Dan had a couple nice examples. Hey, we ran into this problem. How do we solve it? Okay, those guys know that. They know what was hard about the project. They know what went really easy with it. Okay, and then once everything is done, have somebody else read it, proofread it. Because I know that's always my problem. Somebody always finds something I screwed up. All right, but narrative's easy. Once you sit down, take the time and talk with them. You're talking maybe an hour worth of interviews and then a couple hours to put that together. That's the big part. That's the 40 points. So you really want to put most of your focus in on that one. And the next one too. Nice. All right. So the safety form. That's 25 points. Meet with your HR. Meet with your safety director. They'll help you put everything together. Okay. Questions are easy. All right. You probably know most of them. Those answers already. All right. They'll get you your hours, they'll get you your OSHA information, okay? HR will get you the substance abuse and the organizational charts and everything else you need there, okay? Piece of cake, one of the easiest sections if you ask me. Reference letters. Those 15 points, probably the hardest 15 points you have on this thing, okay? All right, you're gonna have to bird dog the owners and your project managers if they're requesting those letters. Of all the submissions I put together, that has been the hardest part, okay? Now, we already mentioned, if you start before the project's done, get that in their ear, it's going to be a lot easier to do it. I know it's something that, honestly, we have not done. All right, we kind of wait till after the project's done and then start say, hey, what do we have photos for? And then we start putting that stuff together last minute. Makes it a little tougher, but right now, we're about 2 months out from your submission. That's plenty of time to get 2 letters together.
Regarding the photographs, again, just what Dan had said about they don't have to be professional. You can go out there, take them yourself, or even the progress photos and stuff like that. If your superintendent's on site or the foreman, like they can just go out there, snap some under construction pictures, send them to you, keep them in that one folder that Steve was talking about, and just kind of keep it all in one location. in the award criteria, make sure that it's all free of date stamps. Make sure that you have a safety personnel review it to make sure there's no safety violations in the photos. Because I know, especially with national, that's one thing they're really looking for, is to make sure there's no violations. Yeah, just make sure that you follow that criteria. And then also, I know we're big on when we go to the awards gala and what photo is our marketing photo through ABC, we make sure we label that one as like, this one is, we want to be like our featured picture throughout the gala and in the Central Penn Business Journal and whatever social media that they handle, like this is the one we want. So just make sure you you label that as like your marketing photo for that project.
All right, guys, so your first step is that intent to submit form. All right, that's going to be due this next Thursday. Just email to Jelena. All right, what do you need? You need your information, you need your entry category, you need your company's ABC dues category. All right, somebody in your office knows that if you don't. And then simply the project information. And quick side note on selecting your project, guys. I know we had already talked about it really quickly, but if there's a project that you're passionate about, that your office is passionate about from that year, and you can submit it, that's your one. Or if you have 2 or 3 of them that are like that, that's your goal. If your company is passionate about that project, it shows in your narrative, in your scope, in your pictures, and when the judges look at it. That's the biggest key. All right? Because you guys will have those photos just because your guys are proud of the work.
And then new this year, we decided to go on all electronic version. So once you do submit your intent to submit form to Jelena, she will then send you, I guess the week of April 11th, she'll send you a Dropbox link. Within that link, you'll be able to download all your photos, your PDF file. So make sure, again, like Steve has said, you make it all one file because the judges don't want to have to keep opening different folders. It's easier if it's all in one area for them just to kind of page through everything. And within that link, you also have a separate folder for your photos. So just, again, make sure you mark, you label that one photo as your marketing photo. That's what you want to use.
Okay, so submitting, it's going to be easy. Just mention your Dropbox folder. Just going to put everything in there, all right? Your entry form, everybody should have a copy with you right now. And it's also available on the website, abcqsim.org. And important is that you have your signed entry form copy with it, all right? If it's not signed, it doesn't count. And our due date is May 24th at 4 o'clock. So, plenty of time.
And make sure by that time you do have your entry, your check with your submission in by 4 o'clock that day. And then just the benefits of entering. I mean, it's a great way to recognize your employees. You can invite them to the gala. We typically invite the superintendent, the project manager, if there's assistant project manager, we invite them, and we also do invite the client to attend with us to accept the award when we walk up on stage. Press releases, so when, this is announced, obviously it's in the Central Penn Business Journal, but, just put it on your website, on any social media accounts. Email blasts out to your clients, your suppliers, anybody who did help you out with the project. At the end of the night, you do get, I guess your copies are there, the Central Penn Business Journal that shows all the projects that did win, and that gets handed out. Obviously, recognition at the gala and any of the ABC news that they send out. And it also helps just build your portfolio to show, the award-winning projects that you do complete. And then the opportunity to submit it into ABC National, which is, I guess they're due in November, so it's shortly right after. So you can just literally take what you already created and just add a little bit more to it, and you're set to go. two-page,
Since this is being videotaped, we have to repeat the question. Is there a limit on the number of pages for the narrative? And the answer is
yes, 2 pages.
2 pages.
And one
One for the
page, 1 page for the contracted scope, 2 pages for the narrative.
We had this year questions. I mentioned about the difficulty, and Steve said the difficulty is getting owners, designers to provide the reference letter, twisting their arm and actually get them to do it. Corporately, some won't. Corporately, some won't let you take photographs either. Unfortunately, you just can't submit that project. We just can't take a form that says, hey, we did good, and nobody's backing us up on it, and we don't have pictures. We can't do it. So that's unfortunate. And there are projects that just won't be submitted because the client won't let it happen. But for the most part, from what I've seen over 20 years, clients are delighted to know that their project is an excellent winner. Ben?
Dan, you mentioned about the date for the project completion. Many subcontractors are complete long before a project is complete. Is it the project completion or the completion of their work?
I believe it needs to be project completion, not when you're done. Hate to say that for you, I know what you're saying, but it should be when the project's occupied. Yeah, a certificate of occupancy is what we go for. The question was for specialty contractors, is the completion date the completion of their work or the completion of the project? And we need to go with a project certification, occupancy certified. So unfortunate it's not your date. There's another question. Yes.
Do you usually embed pictures within your PDF, or do you just save it all for the photo file?
Do you usually embed pictures in your PDF or save it
For the photo file?
for the photo file itself?
So the way we have ours laid out, and you can see a sample over here, we might be talking about a particular part of the project, so we'll put that in that little blurb just to show like this is what we're actually talking about, and then, you know, we'll include it in with the other photos, but just so, you know, we do throw it in there here and there depending.
Very graciously, Chris and Steve do have samples of submittals. And I really like on the back table, several GCs have shown their trophy rooms in the lobby and what it means to show the excellence awards they've received over the years. So take a look at those. Any other questions?
All right. Okay, just a reminder, we do have this nifty little half sheet on your tables, and that's just our dates to remember here. So we already went intent to submit March 31st, deadline for the entry is May 24th, and then here are the big ones, all right? You got an excellence, you got a merit, you're going to be notified around the beginning of August, okay? Give you plenty of time to get all your ducks in a row, know how many tables you need or how many people you're going to take to the gala, which is happening on Wednesday, November 2nd, okay? So for those of you who are winning and you do want to enter for a national, you guys know in August that you're going to be able to do it. So that gives you, what, 2 to 3 months to work on that national submission, which thankfully we're pretty close to what they're allowing. They might allow more,
Yours is a 4-page narrative.
bigger narrative, a couple more reference letters, but Keystone's pretty close.
Yeah, you have the groundwork set for that national submission.
Those are your dates. November 2nd. Get signed up.